Grace's hands didn't shake anymore. That was the first thing she noticed when she pulled the turkey out of the oven. 22 pounds of organic heritage bird that cost more than her rent, and her hands were steady. Completely steady. She set it on the counter and turned around just as Marcus walked through the kitchen door. There was lipstick on his collar. Not her shade. Never her shade. He didn't even look at her. Just grabbed a bottle of wine from the rack and said, "Eleanor wants this upstairs at 6:30. Don't screw it up like last year." Last year she'd been in the hospital with pneumonia. Still made sure the wine got upstairs. Grace picked up the carving knife. "I won't forget." Something in her voice made him stop. For maybe 3 seconds he actually looked at her. Really looked. Then he shook his head and walked out. She watched him cross the lawn toward the guest house. The guest house where he'd been sleeping for 6 months. Where Eleanor went when her husband traveled. Where Grace had found the receipts, the texts, the proof of everything. The knife felt good in her hand. Heavy. Real. Her phone buzzed. Amara. Her daughter. "Mom, I'm so sorry I can't come today. You know I love you, right?" Grace typed back, "I know, baby. I love you too." She almost added something else. Deleted it. "Not yet. Listen. If you're watching this, I need you to stay. I need you to hear what happens when you stay silent so long the silence becomes a cage. When you're black, an immigrant and woman in America, and you learn that survival means swallowing your voice until you forget you ever had one. Subscribe. Stay until the end. Comment what city you're watching from, because I want to know how far this travels. I want to know if truth can cross borders the way pain does." The first guests started arriving at 5. Grace heard the voices, that particular sound of rich people laughing. She'd learned to tune it out years ago. Learned to move through rooms like furniture. There when needed. Gone when not. Eleanor walked into the kitchen at 5:15. "The appetizers need to come out now. Use the silver tray." "Yes, Mrs. Harrison." Eleanor turned to leave, then stopped. "Marcus said you seemed off earlier. You're not upset, are you? Tonight's important for Richard's business. I need you focused." Grace felt something cold drop into her stomach. This woman had been sleeping with her husband for 5 years and was asking if she seemed upset. "No, Mrs. Harrison. I'm fine." Eleanor smiled. That smile she used on waiters and parking attendants. "Good. Your family, Grace. We take care of family." After she left, Grace stood completely still. Then she pulled out her phone and hit record. The dinner unfolded like every Harrison dinner. Grace served courses, filled glasses, cleared plates. She could do it without thinking now. Which left her mind free. Free to remember finding the hotel receipts. Free to remember the first time she'd heard Eleanor's voice on Marcus's phone at midnight. Free to remember standing in this kitchen a week ago, looking at the bottle of bleach under the sink and thinking how easy it would be. Richard Harrison sat at the head of the table, drunk and happy, talking about his latest deal. He'd always been polite to Grace. In that distant way. Like she was a lamp. Useful but not quite human. "Grace." His voice cut through her thoughts. "This turkey is incredible. 12 years. First time he'd complimented her cooking directly. Thank you, Mr. Harrison. Seriously, Eleanor, we should give Grace a raise. We don't appreciate her enough." Eleanor laughed. Light. Practiced. "Oh, Richard. Grace knows we value her." Across the table, Marcus caught Grace's eye. She saw fear there. Good. Dinner stretched on forever and ended too fast. Guests moved to the living room. Grace started clearing plates. Her phone buzzed in her pocket, but she didn't check it. Marcus came into the kitchen while she was scraping plates. "We need to talk." Grace didn't turn around. "Do we? I know you're angry. But Eleanor and we didn't plan this. It just happened." She turned. Looked at him. This man she'd loved. This man who'd given her a daughter. This man who'd promised her America would be their fresh start. "How long were you planning to wait before telling me?" He blinked. "What, before you left? How long were you going to wait?" "Grace, it's not like that." "Then what is it like?" Marcus, he shifted his weight. "Uncomfortable. Eleanor's filing for divorce after Richard's next deal closes. We're doing this the right way." "The right way." Grace almost laughed. "Almost. And what happens to me? You'll be fine. You're strong. You've always been the strong one." He said it like a compliment. Like her strength meant he didn't have to feel guilty. "And Amara's almost done with college. You did what you came here to do. I came here to build a life with you. Things change. He moved toward the door. Look, after tonight Eleanor and I are going to the Hamptons. When we get back we'll sit down properly. Get lawyers. You'll need them. He stopped. What? I said you'll need lawyers. Something in her tone made him stare at her. She saw him trying to figure it out. Saw him decide she was bluffing. Saw him decide that Grace, quiet Grace who'd cooked and cleaned and swallowed her voice for 12 years, couldn't possibly be a threat. Don't make this ugly, Grace. For Amara's sake. He left. Grace stood alone in the kitchen. Pulled out her phone. Sent a text. It's time. The response came immediately. You sure? I'm sure. Jennifer Chen. Investigative journalist. New York Times. Grace had met her 3 months ago at a workers' rights meeting. They'd talked for hours. Jennifer had said something that changed everything. Your silence protects them. Your voice protects everyone they'll hurt next. Grace had gone home that night and started documenting everything. Every threat. Every illegal payment. Every time Eleanor held her immigration status over her head. And then she'd found the financial records. Pure accident. 2 months ago, Eleanor had asked her to organize the home office. Grace had been filing papers when she found the folder. Harrison Development Corporation. Richard's company. Built on his reputation as a family man. Except the numbers didn't match. Grace had been a mathematics teacher in Lagos. She knew numbers. These numbers told a story. A story of embezzlement. $800,000 over 3 years. Shell companies. Hidden fees. Forged signatures. All signed by Eleanor Harrison. Grace had photographed everything. Uploaded to the cloud. Sent copies to Jennifer. Then kept working. Kept cooking. Kept serving the woman stealing from her husband while sleeping with Grace's husband. Jennifer had wanted to run it immediately. Grace had said no. I need to do this my way. Now she understood why. It wasn't revenge. It was control. For once in 12 years she got to decide what happened next. Eleanor walked into the kitchen holding an empty champagne glass. Flushed. Happy. Grace tonight was perfect. Richard's partners are so impressed. She set down the glass. Actually, I've been thinking. After the holidays we need to talk about adjusting your duties. I'll need more help with some personal matters. Grace knew what that meant. Eleanor was already planning the divorce. Already planning to use Grace as a buffer while her affair went public. Mrs. Harrison, I need to tell you something. Eleanor glanced at her watch. Can it wait? The Thompsons are leaving and I need to say goodbye. No. Eleanor finally looked at her. Really looked. What is it? Grace reached into her apron. Pulled out a photograph. Set it on the counter. Marcus and Eleanor at a restaurant. 3 months ago. His hand on her face. Kissing. Eleanor went completely still. Where did you get that? Does it matter? Grace, listen. Eleanor's voice shifted. Urgent now. This isn't what you think. Marcus and I, it was one moment. One mistake. It didn't mean anything. 5 years is a long mistake. Eleanor's face drained of color. What, 5 years? That's how long you've been sleeping with my husband. How long you've been taking him to hotels while I worked 16 hours cooking your food and raising your children. You need to calm down. Eleanor's voice went cold. Authoritative. The voice she used when service people stepped out of line. You're being emotional. Making accusations won't help anyone. Grace smiled. Actually smiled. I'm not making accusations. I have evidence. Hotel receipts. Credit cards. Text messages. Marcus backed up to a computer. I clean. 5 years of evidence. Eleanor's hand gripped the counter. What do you want? There it was. No more denials. Straight to negotiation. I want you to understand something, Grace said quietly. I'm not here to negotiate. I'm here to tell you what happens next. Grace, think carefully. Eleanor's voice dropped. Your visa situation is complicated. And Amara, she has her whole future ahead. You wouldn't want to jeopardize that over something like this. The threat was casual. Easy. This was how Eleanor operated. Find the pressure point. Apply force. Regain control. My visa's fine, Eleanor. I talked to an immigration lawyer 3 months ago. Turns out threatening employees with deportation while paying them under the table is a federal crime. Multiple federal crimes. Eleanor's face twisted. You're bluffing. Am I? Grace pulled out her phone. I've documented everything. Every threat. Every illegal payment. Every time you used my status to keep me working without proper compensation. You little Eleanor caught herself. But not before Grace saw it. The contempt. Always there hidden under liberal kindness. Say it, Grace said softly. We're past pretending. Eleanor straightened, trying to regain control. Fine. You want to play games, here's what happens. You delete whatever you think you have. Leave this house quietly. I'll give you 3 months severance. But if you make trouble, I'll destroy you. I'll destroy Amara. Neither of you will work in this country again. Understand? Grace looked at this woman. This woman who'd taken everything while calling her family. And felt nothing. No anger. No fear. Just cold clarity. No, Eleanor. Here's what happens. In about 20 minutes Richard gets an email. Detailed documentation of your affair with Marcus. Including the fact that Marcus isn't just your lover. He's been helping you embezzle from your husband's company. Eleanor went white. You're lying. $800,000. 3 years. Shell companies in Delaware. Fraudulent consulting fees. Inflated construction costs on the Williamsburg development. I have every document. Every bank statement. Every forged signature. And so does the New York Times. You couldn't. Eleanor's voice cracked. I was a teacher, Eleanor. Mathematics. Did you know that? Of course not. You never asked. But I can read financial records. And when you told me to organize your office 2 months ago, you gave me everything. Eleanor lunged for the phone. Grace stepped back. Had been expecting it. Don't. I already sent everything to secure locations. You can't stop this. Why? Eleanor's voice broke. What do you want? Money. I can pay you. Name your price. This isn't about money. Then what? Grace looked at her. I want you to feel what I felt. I want you to know what it's like having everything taken by someone who calls you family. I want you to understand that people you treat as disposable eventually stop being afraid of being thrown away. Grace, please. Eleanor was crying now. Mascara running. Richard will destroy me if he finds out about the money. His lawyers will tear me apart. I'll lose everything. You should have thought of that before you took everything from me. From the living room Richard's voice called for Eleanor. Eleanor grabbed Grace's arm. I'm begging you. You'll ruin my life. Grace removed Eleanor's hand gently. No, Eleanor. You ruined your own life. I'm just making sure you see it. She turned to leave. Paused at the door. Marcus won't stand by you. I know you think he will. But when it gets hard, when the lawyers come and the money's gone and the friends disappear, he'll leave. Because that's what Marcus does. He finds whoever has the most to offer and takes what he can get. You're wrong, Eleanor whispered. He loves me. Grace felt something almost like pity. Almost. He loved me too. Once. What makes you different? She walked out. Through the dining room where her meal still sat half-eaten on expensive plates. Through the living room where Richard was laughing, shaking hands, completely unaware his world would end in 15 minutes. Grace picked up her coat. Marcus saw her. His face registered surprise. Grace, where are you going? Everyone turned to look. Grace felt their eyes the way she'd felt them for 12 years. Except now she didn't care. Home. But the cleanup. Eleanor appeared in the doorway. Face blotchy. Desperate. Isn't my problem anymore. Richard frowned. Grace, is something wrong? Grace looked at him. This man whose food she'd cooked. Whose home she'd cleaned. Whose wife had been sleeping with her husband for 5 years. Ask your wife, Mr. Harrison. She has something to tell you. She opened the door. Cold November air rushed in. Grace, wait. Marcus moved toward her. She looked at him one last time. Goodbye, Marcus. I hope she was worth it. She stepped outside. The cold hit her face and she realized she was crying. But not sad tears. Something else. Her phone buzzed. Jennifer Chen's story goes live in 20 minutes. You safe? Grace typed, I am now. Another buzz. Amara, Mom, what's happening? Dad just called me, freaking out. Grace started down the driveway. Behind her through the windows she could see movement. Eleanor and Richard. Arms gesturing. Voices rising. She texted Amara, come home baby. Mama needs to tell you something. Her phone exploded with calls. Eleanor. Marcus. Eleanor again. She silenced it. She reached her car. Got in. Locked the doors. Then she saw it. On her windshield. An envelope. Grace's hands started shaking now. Now they shook. She got out, grabbed the envelope, got back in the car, opened it. Inside was a single sheet of paper. Divorce papers. Filed yesterday. Before she'd even confronted them. Before tonight. But that wasn't what made her blood run cold. At the bottom where Marcus should have signed there was a note in his handwriting: Grace, Eleanor and I are getting married next month. The baby's due in April. I thought you should know before you heard it from someone else. The apartment's in your name. Consider it your severance. Marcus. The baby. Eleanor was pregnant. Grace sat in her car, divorce papers shaking in her hands, and started to laugh. Actually laugh. Because of course Eleanor was pregnant. Of course Marcus had already filed. Of course they'd planned this down to the last detail while she'd been cleaning their toilets and cooking their food. Her phone rang. Unknown number. She answered. Mrs. Okonkwo, this is Detective Sarah Miller, NYPD Financial Crimes Unit. We need to talk about Eleanor Harrison. Can you come to the precinct tonight? Behind her she heard sirens. Grace stared at the phone in her hand. Detective Sarah Miller. NYPD Financial Crimes. The sirens were getting closer. Mrs. Okonkwo, are you there? I'm here. We received documentation about financial irregularities at Harrison Development Corporation. The source was anonymous but mentioned you might have additional information. We need to speak with you tonight. Through her rearview mirror, Grace watched 2 police cars pull up to the Harrison mansion. Officers getting out, walking toward the front door. Mrs. Okonkwo, I'll be there in an hour. She hung up, sat there, the divorce papers still in her lap. Eleanor was pregnant. With Marcus's baby. Due in April. They were getting married next month. Next month. While Grace had been planning tonight's confrontation, they'd been planning a wedding. Her phone rang again. Amara this time. Grace answered. Mom, what the hell is going on? Dad called me crying saying you destroyed his life. Then Mrs. Harrison called saying you've lost your mind. Mom, talk to me. Grace's voice came out flat. Empty. Your father's been having an affair with Mrs. Harrison for 5 years. They're getting married next month. She's pregnant. Silence on the other end. Then what? The divorce papers were filed yesterday. He left them on my car tonight. Mom, I'm coming home right now. No. Grace's voice hardened. Stay at school. I need to handle this alone. Mom, you can't be alone right now. Amara, listen to me. I need you to stay away from this. From all of this. Promise me. I don't understand. Promise me. Okay, I promise. But Mom, are you safe? Grace looked at the mansion. Police officers were inside now. She could see shapes moving past the windows. I don't know yet, baby. I'll call you later. She hung up before Amara could respond. Started the car. Drove. She didn't go to the police station. Not yet. She drove to Queens. To the apartment she and Marcus had shared. The apartment that was apparently now hers. Her severance package. The building looked different at night. Smaller. Sadder. She parked and sat there, unable to make herself go inside. Her phone kept ringing. Eleanor. Marcus. Unknown numbers. She ignored all of them. Then a text came through from a number she didn't recognize. This is Richard Harrison. We need to talk. Now. Grace stared at it. Richard. Eleanor's husband. The man who'd just found out his wife had been stealing from him. Had been sleeping with Grace's husband. Was pregnant with another man's child. She typed back, I have nothing to say to you. The response came immediately, my lawyers will be in touch. You'll regret this. Grace almost laughed. Regret. As if she had anything left to lose. Another text. This one from Jennifer Chen's story just went live. Already trending. You okay? Grace clicked the link. The New York Times homepage. There it was. Harrison Development executive accused of embezzlement affair with employee's husband. The article laid it all out. Eleanor's affair with Marcus. The embezzlement. Grace's 12 years of exploitation. The threats. The illegal payments. Everything. Comments were already flooding in. Hundreds of them. Thousands. Grace's phone rang. Jennifer. Grace, where are you? Are you somewhere safe? I'm fine. The story's exploding. CNN wants to interview you. So does NBC. Everyone wants to hear from you. I don't want to talk to anyone. Grace, listen to me. This is bigger than you realize. Other domestic workers are coming forward. Women you worked with, women who worked for Eleanor's friends. They're all sharing their stories. You started something. Grace felt something crack inside her chest. I didn't start anything. I just wanted them to hurt the way they hurt me. Well, they're hurting. Eleanor's been taken in for questioning. Marcus too. Richard's company stock dropped 12% in the last hour. Their world is on fire, Grace. Good. Jennifer paused. Are you sure you're okay? She's pregnant, Jennifer. Eleanor's pregnant with my husband's baby. They filed for divorce yesterday. Before I even confronted them. They knew. They knew what I was going to do and they didn't care. Jesus, Grace. I have to go. The police want to talk to me. Wait, Grace, you should have a lawyer present when you talk to them. I didn't do anything wrong. That's not the point. Please let me set something up for you. I'll think about it. Grace hung up, got out of the car, walked into her building. Each step felt like moving through water. Heavy. Impossible. She unlocked the apartment door. Stepped inside. Everything looked exactly the same. But it wasn't the same. Nothing would ever be the same. Marcus's things were gone. All of them. Not just the things from the last few months. Everything. His books. His clothes. The photo of them on their wedding day that had sat on the shelf for 15 years. He'd been planning this. For how long? Months, a year. Grace walked through the apartment like a ghost. Touching things. The couch they'd saved for 2 years to buy. The table where Amara had done her homework every night. The kitchen where Grace had taught her daughter to cook jollof rice. She ended up in the bedroom. Sat on the edge of the bed. The bed she'd shared with Marcus for 20 years. Her phone rang again. She almost didn't answer. But it was a New York number she didn't recognize. Hello, Mrs. Okonkwo, this is Patricia Mendez. I'm an immigration attorney. Jennifer Chen gave me your number. She said you might need legal representation. I can't afford a lawyer. I'm offering pro bono services. Jennifer told me about your visa situation. About how the Harrisons exploited your status. I've handled cases like this before. I can help you. Why would you help me for free? Because I was you once. 20 years ago. I was cleaning houses. Being threatened with deportation. Being paid half of minimum wage. Someone helped me. Now I help others. Grace felt tears starting. She pushed them back. What do I have to do first? We need to meet. Tonight if possible. The police want to talk to you about the embezzlement investigation. You need representation before you speak to them. I didn't steal anything. I know. But you were the whistleblower. That puts you in a complicated position. Especially given your immigration status. My status is fine. I talked to a lawyer months ago. What lawyer? Grace realized she couldn't remember the name. Had never actually hired anyone officially. Had just had a consultation at a free legal clinic. Had believed what she wanted to believe. I see, Patricia said gently. Mrs. Okonkwo, when did your work visa expire? 2 years ago. But Eleanor promised she'd sponsor my renewal. Did she file any paperwork? I don't know. That's what I thought. Mrs. Okonkwo, without proper documentation you're currently in the country illegally. That means if Eleanor or Richard decide to retaliate they can have you deported. Do you understand? The room tilted. Grace grabbed the edge of the bed. Mrs. Okonkwo, how long do I have? That depends. If they file a complaint with ICE it could be days. But there are options. We can file for a U visa. You're a victim of crimes. That gives you protection. But we need to move fast. Where do I meet you? Patricia gave her an address in Manhattan. Grace wrote it down with shaking hands. After she hung up, Grace sat there. 2 years. She'd been illegal for 2 years and hadn't even known it. Eleanor had lied. Had kept her working. Had used her desperation as leverage. And now Grace understood. The loans Eleanor had given her. The below minimum wage payments. The threats. Eleanor hadn't been helping her. Eleanor had been building a cage. Grace's phone buzzed. Another text from Richard. My investigators found something interesting about your visa status. We should talk before this gets worse for you. There it was. The retaliation. Right on schedule. Grace stood up. Walked to the bathroom. Looked at herself in the mirror. She barely recognized the woman staring back. When had she gotten so old, so tired, so defeated? Her phone rang again. Unknown number. She answered without thinking. Grace. Eleanor's voice. Broken. Desperate. Please, we need to talk. How did you get this number? I've always had it. Grace, please listen. The police are here. Richard's lawyers are here. They're saying I could go to prison. That Marcus could go to prison. Please, you have to tell them this is all a misunderstanding. Grace laughed. Actually laughed. A misunderstanding. I never meant to hurt you. You have to believe that. Marcus and I, it just happened. We fell in love. You can understand that, can't you? You loved him once too. I still love him. Silence. Then Eleanor started crying. Grace, I'm pregnant. I'm 52 years old and pregnant, and my life is falling apart. Please. Please help me. I'll do anything. Anything, yes. Anything. Name it. Grace felt something cold settle over her. Did you file my visa renewal? Eleanor stopped crying. What, 2 years ago? You promised to sponsor my visa renewal. Did you file the paperwork? Silence. Answer me, Eleanor. I was going to. I just got busy. And then time passed, and I thought you thought what, that you could use it against me, that you could keep me trapped here working for you because I was too afraid to leave. No, Grace, it wasn't like that. Then what was it like? I needed you. The house needed you. The family needed you. I didn't want you to leave. So you made sure I couldn't. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. But Grace, we can fix this. I have lawyers. Good lawyers. They can fix your visa situation. They can make everything right. Just please tell the police this was all a mistake. Grace walked back to the bedroom. Sat on the bed. No. What I said, no, Eleanor. You don't get to destroy my life and then ask me to save yours. Grace, think about Amara. If I go to prison, if Marcus goes to prison, what does that do to her? She'll be the daughter of criminals. Her father will be in jail. Is that what you want? What I want? Grace's voice rose. What I wanted a husband who didn't sleep with my employer. I wanted an employer who didn't steal my life. I wanted to live in this country legally with dignity without fear. But I don't get what I want, do I? Grace, your baby, Eleanor. The one you're carrying. Marcus's baby. When's it due? April. I had a miscarriage in April. 3 years ago. Did Marcus tell you that I was 5 months pregnant? We'd been trying for years to give Amara a sibling. I was cleaning your house when I started bleeding. You know what you said to me, John, you finish the kitchen before you go to the hospital, so I did. I finished your kitchen. Then I drove myself to the ER and lost my baby alone because Marcus was at a meeting and you needed your kitchen clean. Eleanor's crying got louder. So no, Eleanor. I won't help you. You're on your own. Grace hung up. Turned off her phone completely. Sat in silence. Then she walked to the closet. Pulled out a box from the top shelf. Inside were the papers she'd collected. The real ones. The ones even Jennifer didn't know about. Bank statements showing Eleanor had stolen over $2 million, not $800,000. Evidence that Richard knew about at least some of it. Emails suggesting Marcus had been involved longer than 5 years. Maybe from the beginning. Grace had been saving these. For what, she wasn't sure. Insurance maybe. Leverage. Something. Now she knew what they were for. Her phone buzzed even though it was off. No, not her phone. A second phone. One she'd bought 3 months ago. One only 2 people had the number to. A text from a blocked number. Is it done? Grace stared at it. Thought about everything. About 12 years of servitude. About Eleanor pregnant with Marcus's baby. About being illegal in this country for 2 years without knowing. About losing her own baby alone in a hospital bathroom. She typed, not yet. But soon. The response came immediately. We're ready when you are. The wire transfer is set up. Just say the word. Grace deleted the text. Deleted the whole conversation. Turned the phone off. Because here was the truth nobody knew. Grace hadn't just collected evidence of Eleanor's crimes. She'd learned how to commit them herself. She'd learned the shell companies, the fake invoices, the offshore accounts. And 3 months ago, when Grace had realized how deep the betrayal went, she'd set up her own system. $20,000 a month for 3 months. Taken from the same accounts Eleanor was using. Hidden the same way. $60,000 sitting in a bank in the Cayman Islands. Money Grace had stolen while planning to expose Eleanor for stealing. She was just as guilty as Eleanor. Maybe more so because Grace knew it was wrong and did it anyway. But here was the thing. Eleanor had taught her something important. In America, the only difference between a criminal and a survivor was who got caught first. Grace picked up the regular phone. Turned it back on. Called Patricia Mendez. I'm ready to meet. But I need to tell you something first. Something that might change your mind about helping me. What is it? Grace took a breath. I'm not just a victim. I'm guilty too. Patricia Mendez didn't say anything for a long time. Grace could hear traffic in the background. The lawyer was outside somewhere. Walking maybe. How much did you take? $60,000 over 3 months. From Harrison Development. Yes. Does anyone else know? Number. Another long silence. Grace waited for Patricia to tell her she couldn't help. Waited for the click of the phone hanging up. Waited for her world to end completely. Where's the money now? Offshore account. Cayman Islands. Can you move it back? I think so. I don't know. I've never done this before. Patricia laughed. Actually laughed. Mrs. Okonkwo, you just committed international wire fraud and you don't know if you can reverse it. I know how it sounds. Do you? Because it sounds like you just handed Eleanor Harrison the perfect weapon to destroy you with. You understand that right? The second this comes out, you're not a victim anymore. You're a co-conspirator. Grace's throat tightened. I know. Then why tell me? Why not just keep it hidden? Because I'm tired of lying. I'm tired of pretending. I'm tired of being someone I'm not. Grace's voice cracked. I took that money because I was angry. Because I wanted them to hurt. Because for once in 12 years I wanted to take something from them instead of having everything taken from me. But it didn't make me feel better. It just made me like them. Patricia was quiet again. Then meet me at my office in 1 hour. Don't talk to anyone until you get there. Not the police. Not Eleanor. Not your daughter. Nobody. Understand? Yes. And Mrs. Okonkwo, bring documentation of the offshore account. Everything. We're going to fix this, but we're going to do it the right way. Grace hung up and sat there shaking. The right way. What was the right way anymore? She'd spent 12 years doing things the right way, and where had it gotten her? Divorced. Illegal. Alone. Her regular phone buzzed. A text from Amara. Mom, I know you told me to stay away, but I can't. I'm coming home. I'll be there in 2 hours. Grace typed back, baby, please don't. I need time to sort this out. Amara's response came immediately, I already left. I'm on the train. Mom, I need to tell you something about Dad and Mrs. Harrison. Something I should have told you a long time ago. Grace stared at the phone. Something Amara should have told her. What else could there possibly be? She called Amara. It went straight to voicemail. Grace tried again. Same thing. A new text from Amara, can't talk on train. See you soon. I love you, Mom. I'm sorry. Sorry for what? Grace's hands started shaking again. She grabbed her keys. Grabbed the folder with the offshore account information. Started for the door. Her phone rang. Jennifer Chen. Grace, where are you? CNN is camped outside your building. So is Fox News. You need to get somewhere safe. How did they find out where I live? I don't know. But it's everywhere now. Your name, your address, photos of you. The story's gone viral. There are hashtags. Protests. Other domestic workers are organizing. Grace, you started a movement. I didn't start anything. I just wanted my life back. Well, you got more than that. Eleanor Harrison's being arraigned tomorrow morning. Marcus too. Richard's filing for divorce and suing both of them. His company's in freefall. Grace, you destroyed them. Good. Is it because from where I'm standing you look like you're destroying yourself too? Grace stopped at the apartment door. What's that supposed to mean? It means I just got a call from someone claiming to have information about financial irregularities on your part. About money transferred to offshore accounts. About fraud. Grace's blood went cold. Who called you? They wouldn't give their name. But Grace, is there something you need to tell me? Because if there's any truth to this, I need to know now before I publish anything else defending you. I can't talk about this. That's not an answer. I have to go. Grace hung up. Pressed her back against the door. Someone knew. Someone had already found out and was spreading it. But who? She'd been so careful. Her phone rang again. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. Hello, Grace, it's Richard Harrison. Grace's stomach dropped. How did you get this number? I have investigators, Grace. Good ones. They're very thorough. His voice was calm. Too calm. We need to meet. Tonight. I'm not meeting with you. Yes, you are. Because I know about the $60,000 you stole from my company. And unless you want to spend the next 10 years in prison, you'll meet me in 1 hour. Don't lie to me. I have documentation. Bank records. Wire transfers. Everything. You were smart, I'll give you that. Learned from watching Eleanor. But not smart enough. Grace couldn't breathe. What do you want? I want you to recant. Tell the police you made up the embezzlement charges against Eleanor. Tell them you fabricated evidence because you were angry about the affair. Do that and I'll forget about your little theft. You want me to lie to let her get away with stealing $2 million from you? $2 million, Richard laughed. Is that what you think she took? Grace, Eleanor stole over $8 million from me. Over 7 years. I've known about it for 3 years. The room tilted. You knew? Of course I knew. I'm not an idiot. But I couldn't prove it. Not without destroying my company in the process. So I waited. I documented everything. Built my case quietly. And now thanks to you I have everything I need for a clean divorce. Eleanor gets nothing. I get everything. My lawyers say I can even go after Marcus for criminal conspiracy. Then why do you need me to lie? Because Eleanor's pregnant, Grace. With Marcus's baby. And I'm not going to be the man who sent his pregnant ex-wife to prison. Do you know what that would do to my reputation, my business? I'd look like a monster. She stole from you. He slept with your wife. I don't care about Eleanor anymore. I don't care about Marcus. What I care about is my company. My reputation. My future. And all of that requires Eleanor to look like the victim here, not the criminal. You're insane. I'm practical. And you're going to help me. Unless you want your daughter to watch you get deported before she graduates college. Unless you want to explain to Amara why mommy's in prison for fraud. Grace closed her eyes. You're blackmailing me. I'm giving you a choice. Help me and we both walk away from this. Refuse and we both go down. Your choice. I need time to think. You have 1 hour. I'll text you the address. Don't be late. He hung up. Grace stood there, phone in hand, trying to process. Richard had known about the embezzlement for 3 years. Had let it continue. Had documented everything. This whole thing was a setup. Richard was using Grace to destroy Eleanor and Marcus while keeping his own hands clean. And now he wanted Grace to help him complete the con. Her phone buzzed. The address from Richard. A restaurant in Midtown. 1 hour. Another text. Patricia Mendez, where are you? You were supposed to be here 20 minutes ago. Grace had forgotten about Patricia. Forgotten about everything except the walls closing in. She texted back, I'm sorry. Something came up. I'll explain later. Patricia's response, Grace, don't do anything stupid. Whatever's happening, we can handle it legally. Don't make this worse. But it was already worse. It couldn't get any worse. Grace grabbed her coat and left the apartment. Took the back stairs to avoid the reporters Jennifer had warned about. Got to her car. Started driving. She didn't go to the restaurant. Didn't go to Patricia's office. She drove to Columbia University. To Amara's dorm. She had to talk to her daughter. Had to warn her. Had to explain before Amara heard it from someone else. She parked illegally and ran into the building. Took the elevator to the 3rd floor. Knocked on Amara's door. No answer. Grace knocked again. Harder. The door next to Amara's opened. A girl Grace had never seen stuck her head out. Amara left like an hour ago. Said she was going home. Did she say anything else? The girl shrugged. Just that she had to talk to her mom about something important. Are you her mom? Grace was already running back to the elevator. Amara was on her way to the apartment. Where reporters were waiting. Where CNN and Fox News were camped out. Where Grace's life was on display for everyone to see. She called Amara again. Voicemail. Texted, baby, don't go to the apartment. There are reporters everywhere. Meet me somewhere else. No response. Grace got in her car and started back toward Queens. Traffic was terrible. Every light was red. Every block took forever. Her phone rang. Patricia. Grace, I just got a very interesting call from Richard Harrison's lawyers. They're offering you full immunity if you testify that you fabricated evidence against Eleanor. What the hell is going on? He's blackmailing me. With what? The money I told you about. He knows. He has proof. Patricia swore. How did he find out so fast? I don't know. But he wants me to lie. To say I made everything up. And if you don't, he'll have me arrested. Deported. He said his investigators are thorough. Listen to me very carefully. Do not meet with Richard. Do not agree to anything. Do not sign anything. This is a trap, Grace. He's trying to get you to commit perjury on tape so he can control you forever. I have to do something. I can't just sit here and wait for everything to fall apart. That's exactly what you have to do. Let me handle Richard. Let me handle the police. You need to trust me. I don't know how to trust anyone anymore. Patricia's voice softened. I know. But you're going to have to try. Because right now I'm all you've got. Grace pulled up to her building. Saw the news vans. The cameras. The reporters standing around waiting. She kept driving. Circled the block. Then she saw Amara. Getting out of a cab. Walking toward the building. Reporters spotted her immediately. Started swarming. Grace laid on the horn. Pulled up to the curb. Rolled down the window. Amara, get in the car. Amara turned. Saw Grace. Started running toward the car. Reporters followed. Cameras flashing. Questions shouting. Are you Grace Okonkwo's daughter? Did you know about your father's affair? How does it feel knowing your father's going to prison? Amara got in the car. Grace hit the gas before the door was even closed. Mom, what the hell is happening? Put your seatbelt on. Mom's seatbelt. Now. Amara buckled in. Grace drove. No destination. Just away. Away from the cameras. Away from the reporters. Away from everything. They drove in silence for 10 minutes. 15. 20. Finally Grace pulled into a parking lot. Some random supermarket. Killed the engine. Okay, Amara said. Talk. I'm the one who should be saying that. You texted me that you needed to tell me something about your father and Mrs. Harrison. Something you should have told me a long time ago. Amara looked out the window. I knew about the affair. I figured that. No, Mom. I mean, I knew from the beginning. 5 years ago. I saw them together at a restaurant. Dad and Mrs. Harrison. They were kissing. I was 15. Grace felt like she'd been punched. 5 years I confronted Dad. He begged me not to tell you. Said it would destroy you. Said it was just a mistake, that it would never happen again. I believed him. I was 15 and I believed him. Why didn't you tell me later when you knew it wasn't a mistake? Amara turned to face her. Tears streaming down her face. Because I was scared. Because I didn't want our family to fall apart. Because I thought if I just kept quiet maybe it would go away. And then months turned into years and I didn't know how to tell you anymore. Every day I wanted to. Every time I saw you crying after working a 16-hour shift, every time you missed my events because you were at their house, I wanted to tell you. But I couldn't. I'm sorry, Mom. I'm so sorry. Grace reached over. Pulled her daughter into her arms. Let Amara cry into her shoulder. It's not your fault, baby. None of this is your fault. But I knew. For 5 years I knew and I said nothing. I let you suffer. I let them use you. You were a child. Children shouldn't have to carry adult secrets. I'm not a child anymore. I haven't been for a long time. And I still said nothing. Grace held her daughter tighter. You're saying something now. That's what matters. They sat like that for a while. Then Amara pulled back. Wiped her eyes. There's more. More. Dad came to see me last week. Before Thanksgiving. He told me he was leaving you. That he and Mrs. Harrison were getting married. That she was pregnant. He wanted me to help him tell you. What did you say? I told him to go to hell. I told him he was a coward and a liar and I never wanted to see him again. Amara's voice hardened. He tried to give me money. Said he wanted to make sure I finished college. I threw it in his face and walked out. I haven't answered his calls since. Grace felt something warm spread through her chest. Pride. Her daughter was stronger than she'd ever been. I'm proud of you. Don't be. I should have told you years ago. I should have protected you. Baby, you did protect me. You gave me 5 more years of hope. 5 more years of believing my family was intact. That wasn't nothing. It was a lie. Sometimes lies are all we have to survive on. Amara looked at her mother. What are you going to do now? I don't know. Mom, they're saying you stole money. That you committed fraud. Is that true? Grace thought about lying. About protecting Amara from one more ugly truth. But she was tired. So tired of lying. Yes. Amara didn't look surprised. How much? 60,000. Why? Because I was angry. Because I wanted them to hurt. Because I'm not as good a person as I thought I was. What happens now? Richard Harrison is blackmailing me. He wants me to say I made up the embezzlement charges against Eleanor. If I don't, he'll have me arrested and deported. Can he do that? He has lawyers. Good ones. And I'm illegal, Amara. My visa expired 2 years ago. Eleanor never filed my renewal. I've been working illegally this whole time without even knowing it. Amara's face went pale. You could be deported, yes. Before I graduate, yes. Oh God, Mom. I'm sorry, baby. I'm so sorry. I tried to build us a life here. I tried to do everything right. And I failed. You didn't fail. They failed you. Dad failed you. Mrs. Harrison failed you. The system failed you. But you didn't fail. Grace looked at her daughter. 20 years old. Pre-law student. Brilliant and fierce and everything Grace had hoped she'd be. When did you get so wise? I had a good teacher. Grace's phone rang. Patricia again. I have to take this. She answered. Patricia. Grace, where are you? The police just showed up at my office with a warrant for your arrest. Financial fraud. You need to turn yourself in. Tonight. With me present. Grace looked at Amara. Her daughter. The only thing in this world that mattered. I can't. Grace, this isn't optional. If you don't turn yourself in, they'll issue a warrant. They'll hunt you down. They'll add fleeing to the charges. How long do I have? Hours? Maybe less. Richard Harrison's lawyers are pushing hard. They want you in custody before you can talk to any more press. I need 1 more day. You don't have 1 more day. Then I need 1 more hour. To do what? Grace looked at Amara. Made a decision. To fix this. All of it. For good. She hung up. Turned to Amara. Baby, I need you to go to Aunt Regina's house. Stay there. Don't answer the door for anyone except me. Understand, Mom? What are you going to do? Something I should have done a long time ago. That's not an answer. Grace kissed her daughter's forehead. I love you. More than anything in this world. Remember that. No matter what happens. Remember that I love you. Mom, you're scaring me. I know. But I need you to trust me. Can you do that? Amara nodded. Grace got out of the car. Gave Amara the keys. Drive to Aunt Regina's. Don't stop. Don't talk to anyone. Go now. Amara started the car. Mom, go. Amara drove away. Grace watched until the car disappeared around the corner. Then she pulled out her phone. Called Richard Harrison. I'll meet you. But not at the restaurant. Somewhere private. Just you and me. Why should I trust you? Because I'm going to give you something better than my testimony. I'm going to give you everything. All of Eleanor's offshore accounts. All the money she hid. All $8 million. And I'm going to tell you exactly how to get it back without anyone knowing you knew about it all along. Silence. Then you have my attention. There's a condition. Of course there is. You leave my daughter alone. You don't go after her. You don't drag her into this. She gets to finish school. Gets to build her life. Free and clear. And what about you? I'll take whatever's coming. But Amara walks away clean. That's the deal. Richard thought about it. Fine. Where and when? Your office. 1 hour. Come alone or the deal's off. Grace hung up before he could respond. Then she made 1 more call. To Jennifer Chen. I need you to do something for me. Something that might cost you your job. Grace, what are you doing? I'm ending this. Tonight. But I need insurance. I need someone to witness what happens. To record it. To make sure the truth gets out no matter what. You want me to secretly record Richard Harrison? I want you to be there when I confess to everything. When I tell him exactly how Eleanor stole his money and how I helped myself to some too. I want you to have the whole story. The real story. Not the version Richard wants to spin. Not the version that makes me look like a victim. The version where everyone's guilty and everyone pays. Grace, if you do this you'll go to prison. I know. So why are you doing it? Grace thought about Amara. About 12 years of servitude. About Eleanor pregnant with Marcus's baby. About all the lies and all the silence and all the ways she'd betrayed herself trying to survive. Because I'm tired of being afraid. And I'm tired of letting other people write my story. She gave Jennifer the address. Told her to come in through the service entrance in exactly 45 minutes. Told her to bring a camera. Then Grace started walking. She didn't know where she was going. Just away. 1 more time. Toward the final confrontation. Toward the end of everything. Her phone buzzed one last time. A text from a blocked number: the offshore account has been frozen. Someone reported it. You're out of time. Grace stopped walking. Stared at the text. Someone had reported the account. Someone knew everything. And suddenly Grace understood. There was only one person who could have known. Only one person who'd had access to all of it. Amara. Her daughter had found out about the stolen money and reported it. To protect Grace from herself. To force her to face the consequences before she did something worse. Grace started laughing. Standing there on a dark street corner in Queens. Laughing like a crazy person. Because of course her daughter was braver than she was. Stronger than she was. Better than she was. The student had surpassed the teacher. Grace's phone rang. Detective Sarah Miller. Mrs. Okonkwo, we need you to come in. Now. We have questions about multiple offshore accounts. And we have reason to believe you're a flight risk. Grace looked up at the sky. Stars barely visible through the city lights. I'm not running, detective. I'm done running. Then where are you? I'm on my way to Richard Harrison's office. To tell him everything. And I think you should be there too. Detective Miller didn't waste time. What address? I'm sending units now. Grace gave her Richard's office building. 23rd floor. But detective, you need to come yourself. Not just uniforms. You need to hear this. Hear what? Everything. The whole story. Not just what Richard wants you to know. Mrs. Okonkwo, are you confessing to a crime? Grace laughed bitterly. I'm confessing to several. But so is everyone else tonight. She hung up before Miller could respond. Flagged down a cab. Gave the driver the address. Sat back and tried to slow her racing heart. Her phone buzzed. Amara. Mom, where are you? Aunt Regina says you're not answering her calls. Mom, please tell me you're not doing something stupid. Grace texted back, I love you, baby. I'm fixing things. Stay at Aunt Regina's. Mom, you're scaring me. I know. Trust me. One more hour. Grace turned off her phone completely. Couldn't afford distractions now. The cab pulled up to Richard's building. Grace paid, got out. Stood on the sidewalk looking up at the glass tower. Somewhere up there Richard Harrison was waiting. Thinking he'd won. Thinking Grace would bend to his blackmail. He had no idea what was coming. Grace walked into the lobby. The security guard looked up. Can I help you? Grace Okonkwo? Here to see Richard Harrison. The guard checked his computer. Mr. Harrison left word you'd be coming. 23rd floor. Elevators are, I know where they are. Grace had been here before. Dozens of times. Delivering Eleanor's lunch when she forgot it. Picking up dry cleaning. Running errands. Always through the service entrance. Never through the front lobby. Tonight she walked through the front. The elevator ride took forever. Grace watched the numbers climb. Tried to breathe. Tried to think. The doors opened. 23rd floor. Executive offices. Everything chrome and glass and expensive art. Richard was waiting in the hallway. You're late. I'm here. That's what matters. He looked different. Older. Tired. His perfect veneer cracking. Come on. We don't have much time. He led her to his corner office. Shut the door. Gestured to a chair. Grace didn't sit. You said you'd come alone. I did. Then why'd I hear voices? Richard's face tightened. My lawyers insisted on being present for any conversation we have. They're in the conference room. They won't interrupt. No deal. I said alone or nothing. Grace, be reasonable. This is a business transaction. Everything needs to be documented. This isn't a transaction. This is a confession. And if your lawyers are here, I'm leaving. Richard stared at her. Calculating. Then he walked to the door, opened it, called down the hall. Gentlemen, take a break. 30 minutes. Grace heard footsteps. Voices protesting. Richard's voice firm. 30 minutes. I'll call if I need you. He closed the door. Locked it. Turned back to Grace. Happy? Not yet. Then let's get started. You said you could tell me how to recover all 8 million. I'm listening. Grace walked to the window. Looked out at the city. All those lights. All those people. All those stories nobody would ever hear. How long have you known Eleanor was stealing from you? I told you. 3 years. You're lying. You've known longer. Richard's jaw tightened. Excuse me, you've known from the beginning. 7 years ago when she started. You knew because you taught her how. Silence. Heavy. Dangerous. That's quite an accusation. It's the truth. You taught Eleanor how to hide money offshore, how to create shell companies, how to doctor invoices. You taught her everything because you were doing it too. Skimming from your own company, hiding assets from your partners. And when your partners started asking questions, you needed a scapegoat. So you let Eleanor continue. You documented everything. And when the time was right, you'd throw her under the bus and play the victim. Richard's face had gone very still. How did you figure that out? Because I'm not stupid. Because I spent 12 years watching you people. Learning how you operate. Learning how the rich stay rich by making everyone else take the fall. If you're so smart, why did you steal money yourself? That wasn't very clever. I never said I was clever. I said I wasn't stupid. There's a difference. Richard moved closer. Here's what I think happened. You found Eleanor's records, saw an opportunity, helped yourself to some cash. Now you're trying to save yourself by making wild accusations against me. Then explain the voice memos. Richard stopped. What, the voice memos on Eleanor's phone? The ones I copied 3 months ago. The ones where you're explaining to her exactly how to structure the Delaware shell companies. Where you're telling her which accounts to use. Where you're coaching her on what to say if anyone asks questions. Richard's face had gone white. You're bluffing. Eleanor's phone is encrypted. Was encrypted. Past tense. She had me set up her new phone 6 months ago. Transferred everything from the old one, including a backup folder she thought she'd deleted. But nothing's ever really deleted, is it? Richard sat down heavily in his chair. You have recordings of me and Eleanor discussing the embezzlement, not just discussing. Planning. You were partners, Richard. You and Eleanor. You taught her how to steal. Then when she got greedy and started taking more than her share, you decided to cut her loose. The affair with Marcus was just icing. Gave you the perfect excuse for a divorce while painting yourself as the wronged husband. No one will believe you. Maybe not. But they'll believe the recordings. Your voice is very distinctive. Richard's hands gripped the armrests. What do you want? Nothing. Everyone wants something. I did want something. I wanted my husband, my dignity, my life. But those are gone. So now I just want the truth to come out. The truth will destroy you too. I know. I'm okay with that. Richard stood up, walked to a cabinet, pulled out a bottle of scotch, poured 2 glasses, offered one to Grace. She shook her head. He drank both, then turned to face her. Let me tell you something about the truth, Grace. The truth is a luxury. It's something rich people can afford and poor people can't. You want to tell the truth? Fine. You'll go to prison. You'll be deported. Your daughter will watch you get torn apart. And for what? Some moral victory, some sense of justice? Yes. That's stupid. Maybe. But it's my choice. Richard laughed. Actually laughed. Your choice. That's rich. You've never had a choice, Grace. Not from the moment you stepped off that plane from Nigeria. This country ate you alive and you're only now figuring it out. You're right. It did eat me alive. But I'm still here. Still standing. Still fighting. You call this fighting? You're about to lose everything. I already lost everything. This is just making sure you lose something too. A knock at the door. Richard ignored it. The knock came again. Harder. Mr. Harrison, the police are here. His assistant's voice. Nervous. They're demanding to speak with you. Richard looked at Grace. You called the police. I told you this was a confession, not a negotiation. Richard moved toward the door. Grace blocked him. Wait. There's something else you need to know. What now? Eleanor's pregnant. With Marcus's baby. But you already knew that too, didn't you? Richard's face twisted. So what? So that baby, it's your leverage. Your insurance policy. Because as long as Eleanor's pregnant, as long as there's an innocent child involved, public sympathy will be split. Some people will hate her. Some will pity her. And you'll look magnanimous by not pursuing charges against the mother of an unborn child. You'll look like a saint. You're giving me too much credit. Am I, or have you been 3 steps ahead this whole time? The knocking got louder. Mr. Harrison, they're threatening to break down the door. Richard moved to unlock it. Grace grabbed his arm. One more thing. The recordings, I don't have them. Richard froze. What? I never had them. I made that up. You're lying. Maybe. Or maybe I'm telling the truth and you just confessed to everything for nothing. Richard stared at her. Trying to figure it out. Trying to decide if she was bluffing. Grace smiled. That's the thing about the truth, Richard. Once you start telling it, you can't stop. Even when you should. She walked to the door. Unlocked it. Opened it. Detective Miller stood there with two uniformed officers. Behind them Richard's lawyers. And behind them Jennifer Chen with a camera. Mrs. Okonkwo, Miller said. We need you to come with us. I know. But first, Detective, you need to hear what Mr. Harrison has to say. Miller looked past Grace at Richard. Mr. Harrison. Richard's face was a mask. I have nothing to say without my lawyers present. That's interesting. Because your assistant just told us you asked your lawyers to leave so you could speak with Mrs. Okonkwo alone. Why would you do that? That's none of your business. Actually, it's very much my business. You see, Mrs. Okonkwo called me 20 minutes ago. Said she was coming here to confess to multiple crimes. Said I should be present to witness it. But then she said something interesting. She said everyone would be confessing tonight. Not just her. Everyone. Richard's lawyers pushed forward. Mr. Harrison, don't say anything. We need to speak privately. But Richard wasn't looking at his lawyers. He was looking at Grace. And Grace saw it. The exact moment he realized he'd been played. You wore a wire, he said quietly. Grace pulled out her phone. Hit stop on the recording app. I wore a phone. Same difference. Miller held out her hand. I'll need that. Grace gave it to her. Everything's on there. Richard admitting he knew about the embezzlement from the beginning. Admitting he taught Eleanor how to do it. Admitting he let it continue so he could use it against her later. Richard's lawyers exploded, yelling about entrapment, about illegal recordings, about violations of privacy. Miller ignored them. Mr. Harrison, I'm going to need you to come to the precinct to answer some questions. I'm not going anywhere without a warrant. That can be arranged. We have enough for probable cause based on this recording alone. That recording is inadmissible. She recorded me without consent. In New York, only one party needs to consent to a recording. Mrs. Okonkwo consented. The recording is legal. Richard's face went purple. This is entrapment. No, this is justice. There's a difference. Miller gestured to the officers. Please escort Mr. Harrison to the precinct. Gently. We wouldn't want any claims of police brutality. Richard jerked his arm away from the officer trying to guide him. You think this changes anything? I have the best lawyers in New York. This will never see the inside of a courtroom. Maybe not, Grace said quietly. But it'll see the inside of every newspaper in the country. Jennifer Chen stepped forward with her camera still rolling. Mr. Harrison, would you like to comment on allegations that you orchestrated your wife's embezzlement scheme to cover your own financial crimes? No comment. Turn that off. Would you like to comment on reports that you knowingly allowed your wife to steal millions from your own company while documenting it for future use against her? I said no comment. What about allegations that you blackmailed Mrs. Okonkwo to cover up your involvement? Richard lunged at Jennifer. The officer grabbed him, pulled him back. That's assault on a journalist, Mr. Harrison. We can add that to the list. They led Richard out, his lawyers following, making phone calls, already spinning. Grace stood there, shaking. Miller turned to her. Your turn, Mrs. Okonkwo. You said you were confessing to multiple crimes. I'm listening. Grace nodded. I stole $60,000 from Harrison Development Corporation over 3 months. I used the same methods Eleanor Harrison used. I transferred the money to an offshore account in the Cayman Islands. Why? Because I was angry. Because I wanted them to hurt. Because I'm not a good person. Where's the money now? Frozen. Someone reported the account before I could move it. Miller looked at her for a long moment. Your daughter reported it. Called our financial crimes unit this morning. Said her mother had gotten in over her head and needed help. Grace closed her eyes. She's smarter than me. She loves you. There's a difference. Miller pulled out handcuffs. Grace Okonkwo, you're under arrest for wire fraud and embezzlement. You have the right to remain silent. Grace held out her wrists. Felt the cold metal click into place. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. Grace looked at Jennifer. At the camera still recording. I have something to say. Miller paused. You should wait for a lawyer. I don't want to wait. I want to say this now while people are listening. Jennifer moved closer. Camera focused on Grace's face. I came to America 20 years ago with a dream. A husband I loved. A daughter I wanted to give the world. I thought if I worked hard enough, if I was good enough, if I sacrificed enough, we'd make it. We'd build a life. But I was wrong. Grace's voice cracked, but she kept going. I spent 12 years being invisible. Being less than. Being treated like furniture. I swallowed every insult. Every threat. Every moment of humiliation. Because I thought survival meant silence. But silence didn't protect me. It protected them. The hallway had gone quiet. Everyone listening. My husband left me for the woman who employed me. The woman who promised to help me stay in this country legally and then let my visa expire so she could control me. The woman who stole millions while paying me slave wages. And when I finally found the courage to speak up, to fight back, I became just like them. I stole. I lied. I broke the law. Grace looked directly into the camera. I'm not a victim. I'm not a hero. I'm just a woman who got lost trying to survive. And tonight I'm trying to find my way back. I'm confessing not because I want forgiveness, but because I want my daughter to see that telling the truth, even when it destroys you, is the only way to be free. Miller cleared her throat. That's enough. But Grace wasn't done. To every woman watching this who's being exploited, who's being threatened, who's being told to stay quiet or else your silence protects them. Your voice protects you. I learned that too late. Don't make my mistake. Miller gently pulled Grace toward the elevator. Let's go. They walked past the lawyers, past the cameras, past the chrome and glass that had never really been meant for people like Grace anyway. The elevator doors opened. Grace stepped inside, turned to face forward. And there in the lobby she saw Marcus. He was standing next to Eleanor. Both of them in handcuffs. Both of them being led by different officers. Eleanor's face was swollen from crying. Marcus wouldn't look up. The elevator doors started to close. Grace held them open with her cuffed hands. Marcus. He looked up. Their eyes met. Was she worth it? He opened his mouth. Closed it. No words. Eleanor started to say something, but Grace cut her off. I'm not talking to you. I'll never talk to you again. You don't exist to me anymore. Grace let the elevator doors close. Miller stood next to her. Feel better, number. But I feel done. That's something. They rode down in silence. Exited into the lobby. More cameras. More reporters. Mrs. Okonkwo, how do you feel? Did you know your husband was being arrested tonight too? What's next for you? Grace didn't answer. Just walked. Let Miller guide her to the police car. They put her in the back. Miller got in front. Started the engine. For what it's worth, Miller said, I think you did the right thing tonight. I destroyed 3 lives. Including my own. You told the truth. Sometimes that's the same thing. Grace leaned her head against the window. Watched the city pass by. All those lights. All those people. None of them knowing her story. None of them caring. Her phone was buzzing in the evidence bag. Miller glanced at it. It's your daughter. She's been calling non-stop for the last 10 minutes. Can I talk to her? Not until we get to the precinct. But I can tell her you're okay if you want. Tell her I love her. Tell her I'm sorry. Tell her this was the only way. Miller made the call. Grace couldn't hear Amara's response, but she could imagine it. Her daughter's voice. Crying. Scared. Angry maybe. Miller hung up. She says she'll meet us at the precinct. Says she's bringing a lawyer. I can't afford a lawyer. She says the lawyer's pro bono. Patricia Mendez. Immigration attorney. Says you already know her. Grace closed her eyes. Patricia. Still trying to help even after Grace had disappeared. Even after Grace had made everything worse. They pulled up to the precinct. Miller helped Grace out of the car. Led her inside. The processing took hours. Fingerprints. Photos. Paperwork. Grace went through it like a robot. Numb. Empty. Finally they put her in an interrogation room. Told her to wait. Grace sat in the metal chair and stared at the wall. Tried not to think. Tried not to feel. The door opened. Patricia Mendez walked in. Behind her Amara. Grace started crying. Couldn't help it. Couldn't stop it. Amara ran to her. Wrapped her arms around her mother. Both of them crying now. Mom, why did you do this? Because it was time to stop running. You weren't running. You were surviving. No baby. I was hiding. There's a difference. Patricia sat down across from them. Pulled out a notepad. Okay, let's talk about what happens next. The charges against you are serious. Wire fraud, embezzlement. But there are mitigating factors. You were being exploited, threatened. Your visa status was manipulated. And you cooperated with law enforcement. That counts for something. How much time am I looking at? Worst case 5 to 7 years. But I think we can get that down. Maybe probation if we're lucky. You're a first-time offender. You came forward voluntarily. The prosecution might be willing to deal. And the deportation. Patricia hesitated. That's trickier. Your visa expired 2 years ago. You've been working illegally. That usually results in deportation and a 10-year ban on re-entry. Grace looked at Amara, her daughter. The only thing that mattered. Can she stay after I'm deported? Can Amara finish school? Mom, stop. You're not getting deported. Baby, I'm illegal. I broke the law. That's what happens. Patricia leaned forward. Actually, there might be a way. The U visa. For victims of crimes who cooperate with law enforcement. You were a victim of labor exploitation. Of threats related to your immigration status. And you cooperated with the investigation into Richard and Eleanor Harrison. That might be enough. Might be. Immigration law is complicated. And unpredictable. But it's our best shot. Grace nodded. Numb. Too tired to hope. The door opened again. Detective Miller. Mrs. Okonkwo, there's someone here to see you. Says it's urgent. Who? Marcus Okonkwo. Your husband. He's asking to speak with you. Grace felt rage flood through her. Hot. Pure. No. He says he has information about Eleanor Harrison. About the embezzlement. Says he'll only talk if you're in the room. Tell him to go to hell. Miller looked at Patricia. It could help your case. If he provides evidence against Eleanor and Richard, if he corroborates your story, it strengthens your position. Grace looked at Amara, her daughter's face hard, angry. Don't do it, Mom. Don't give him anything. But Grace knew she had to. Knew this was the price. One more sacrifice. One more moment of swallowing her pride. 5 minutes. That's all he gets. Miller nodded. Left. Came back with Marcus. He looked terrible. Exhausted. Broken. He sat down at the table. Wouldn't look at Grace. Say what you need to say. Grace's voice was ice. Then get out. Marcus cleared his throat. I'm sorry. I don't care. Grace, please. I need you to understand. I don't need to understand anything. Just tell them what you know so I can get you out of my life forever. Marcus flinched. Richard Harrison knew about the embezzlement from the beginning. He taught Eleanor how to do it. I have emails, text messages, recordings of conversations between them. He was planning to frame her all along. Why are you telling us this? Because Eleanor's pregnant with my child. Because if she goes to prison, my child grows up without a mother. I can't let that happen. Grace laughed. Bitter. Harsh. So you'll throw Richard under the bus to save Eleanor? How noble. I'm trying to do the right thing. Now after 5 years of lies, after destroying our family, now you want to do the right thing? Grace, don't say my name. You lost that privilege. Grace stood up. Give them whatever evidence you have. Help Eleanor if that's what you need to do. But stay away from me. Stay away from Amara. You're dead to us. She walked to the door. Miller opened it for her. Marcus called after her. I loved you, Grace. I want you to know that. I did love you. Grace stopped. Didn't turn around. Love without respect is just cruelty with better manners. She walked out. Grace spent the night in a holding cell. Cold concrete. Thin blanket. The smell of disinfectant and despair. She didn't sleep. Just sat there replaying everything. Every choice. Every mistake. Every moment that led her here. At 6 in the morning they came for her. Processing. More paperwork. Then Patricia arrived with coffee and news. The DA wants to make a deal. Grace took the coffee. Burned her tongue. Didn't care. What kind of deal? Full cooperation against Richard Harrison. Testimony about the embezzlement scheme. In exchange they'll drop the fraud charges down to a misdemeanor. Probation. No prison time. And the deportation. Patricia's face tightened. Still pending. But we filed the U visa application last night. Emergency processing. If it goes through you can stay. If immigration decisions take time. Sometimes months. Sometimes years. We need to be patient. I don't have years. I know. But it's the best we can do. Amara appeared in the doorway. Eyes red from crying. She'd been up all night too. Mom, there's something on the news. You need to see this. Patricia pulled out her phone. Opened a news app. There on the screen was Eleanor Harrison. Outside the precinct. Cameras everywhere. And she was talking. I want to apologize to Grace Okonkwo. For everything. For the affair with her husband. For exploiting her labor. For threatening her with deportation. For stealing her life while pretending to be her friend. I was wrong. I was cruel. And I'm sorry. Grace stared at the screen. Eleanor crying. Mascara running. Playing the victim perfectly. She's been talking for 20 minutes, Amara said. Confessing to everything. The embezzlement. The affair. All of it. Why? Patricia scrolled through the comments. Because her lawyers are smart. She's getting ahead of the story. Controlling the narrative. By confessing publicly, by showing remorse, she's setting herself up for a lighter sentence. Public sympathy for the pregnant woman who made mistakes. That's manipulation. That's survival. Same thing you did by wearing that wire last night. Grace watched Eleanor sob on camera. Watched her place a hand on her pregnant belly. Watched her play the role of broken woman seeking redemption. Turn it off. Patricia closed the phone. The DA wants an answer by noon. Will you testify against Richard or not? What about Marcus? What happens to him? He's cooperating too. Giving evidence against Richard in exchange for reduced charges. He'll probably get probation. Community service. His engineering license might be suspended, but he won't see jail time. Grace felt rage building. So everyone walks away. Eleanor gets sympathy. Marcus gets a slap on the wrist. Richard might be the only one who actually pays welcome to the justice system. The people with the best lawyers usually win. That's not justice. No. But it's reality. Grace stood up. Paced the small room. Her whole body vibrating with anger and frustration and exhaustion. If I testify against Richard, if I help put him in prison, what does that make me? Smart, Patricia said. It makes you smart. It makes me a collaborator. I'm helping Eleanor and Marcus escape consequences by throwing Richard to the wolves. Richard deserves it. He orchestrated this whole thing. They all deserve it. Every single one of them. Amara moved closer. Took her mother's hand. Mom, you need to think about yourself. About us. If you don't take this deal, you could go to prison. You could be deported. I could lose you. You already lost me, baby. The woman I was, the woman I wanted to be, she's gone. Then become someone new. Someone stronger. Someone who survives this and helps others survive too. Grace looked at her daughter. 20 years old and wiser than Grace would ever be. When did you get so smart? I had to be. Someone in this family needed to think clearly. Patricia checked her watch. Grace, I need an answer. The DA won't wait forever. Grace thought about Richard. About his smug face. About his confession on tape. About how he'd blackmailed her. About how he'd destroyed Eleanor just to save himself. Fine. I'll testify. But I want something in return. What? I want them to go after Eleanor too. Not just Richard. Both of them. I want her to face real consequences, not just public embarrassment. Patricia shook her head. Grace, Eleanor's cooperating. The DA won't prosecute someone who's helping their case. Then I don't testify. You're cutting off your nose to spite your face. Maybe. But at least I'll have made the choice myself. They stared at each other. Patricia's phone rang. She answered, listened, hung up. That was the DA. They're offering Eleanor full immunity in exchange for her testimony against Richard. She's the key witness. Without her, their case falls apart. So she wins. After everything, Eleanor wins. Nobody's winning here, Grace. We're all just trying to minimize the damage. Grace sat down. Put her head in her hands. Felt the weight of everything crushing her. What happens if I refuse to cooperate? If I just pled guilty and take whatever sentence they give me, 3 to 5 years? Then deportation. 10-year ban from re-entering the country. You'd never see Amara again. Amara started crying. Mom, please. Please don't do that. Grace pulled her daughter close. Breathed in her hair. Her baby. Her only reason for any of this. Okay. I'll cooperate. I'll testify. I'll do whatever they want. Patricia nodded. Made a call. Spoke in low tones. Hung up. Done. You'll meet with the DA this afternoon. Give a formal statement. Then you're free to go home until the trial. When's the trial? Probably 6 months. Maybe longer. Richard's lawyers will drag this out as long as possible. 6 months of waiting. 6 months of not knowing if I'll be deported. 6 months of everyone staring at me like I'm some kind of victim or criminal or both. 6 months of being alive and free. Take it. They processed Grace's release. Gave her back her phone. Her wallet. Her keys. Everything felt foreign. Like they belonged to someone else. Outside the precinct cameras were waiting. Grace tried to push through but they swarmed. Mrs. Okonkwo, how do you feel about Eleanor Harrison's apology? Do you forgive your husband? What's next for you? Grace stopped. Looked directly at the cameras. I don't forgive anyone. Not Eleanor. Not Marcus. Not myself. But I'm done being silent. I'm done letting other people tell my story. So here's what's next. I'm going to fight. For my right to stay in this country. For every domestic worker being exploited right now. For every immigrant being threatened into silence. And I'm going to win. Because I'm done losing. She pushed through the crowd. Amara beside her. Patricia running interference. They got to Patricia's car. Drove away. The cameras following for a few blocks, then falling back. Grace's phone started buzzing. Dozens of messages. Hundreds. From numbers she didn't recognize. You're trending, Amara said, scrolling through her own phone. Number 3 on Twitter. People are calling you a hero. I'm not a hero. You're something. People are listening. Other domestic workers are coming forward. There's a protest planned for next week. Outside Richard Harrison's office. They want you to speak. I can't speak at a protest. I'm barely holding myself together. Then fall apart. Let people see it. That's more powerful than any speech. Grace looked out the window. The city passing by. The same city that had chewed her up and spit her out. The same city that had taken everything and given nothing back. I need to go see someone. Patricia glanced at her. Who? My employer from before the Harrisons. Mrs. Chen. I worked for her for 6 months when I first came to America. She was kind to me. I need to tell her I'm sorry. Sorry for what? For disappearing. For taking the Harrison job without giving notice. For being so desperate to make more money that I left the one person who actually treated me like a human being. Patricia pulled over. You want to do this now? Yes. Before I lose my nerve. Mrs. Chen lived in Flushing. Small apartment above a restaurant. Grace had the address memorized even after all these years. She climbed the stairs. Knocked on the door. An old woman answered. Smaller than Grace remembered. Frailer. Yes, Mrs. Chen, I don't know if you remember me. Grace Okonkwo. I worked for you in 2011. Recognition flickered. Grace, my goodness. Come in, come in. The apartment smelled like incense and cooking oil. Mrs. Chen made tea. They sat at the small table. I saw you on the news, Mrs. Chen said. That Harrison family. Terrible people. I'm glad you exposed them. I should have stayed working for you. You were good to me. You paid me fairly. You never threatened me. And I left for more money without even saying goodbye properly. Mrs. Chen waved her hand. You were young. You had a family to support. I understood. I'm sorry anyway. Don't be sorry. Be strong. You're fighting now. That's what matters. She poured more tea. You know, when I came to America in 1978, I cleaned houses too. Rich people. They treated me like furniture. I swore when I had money I'd never treat anyone that way. That's why I paid you fair wages. That's why I gave you time off. Because I remembered what it felt like to be invisible. Grace felt tears starting. How did you survive it? I didn't survive it. I endured it. There's a difference. Surviving means you come out whole. Enduring means you come out changed. Harder. But alive. I don't feel alive. I feel empty. Empty is good. Empty means you have space for something new. You're not the woman you were. You're not the woman you thought you'd be. You're someone else now. Someone who fought back. That's worth something. Grace drank her tea. Let the warmth spread through her. Let Mrs. Chen's words sink in. Thank you. Come back and see me after the trial. Tell me how it ends. What if it ends badly? What if I'm deported? Then come say goodbye. But fight first. Don't give up before the final bell. Grace hugged her. This woman who'd shown her kindness when kindness was rare. This woman who'd seen her as human when no one else did. Outside Amara was waiting. Feel better a little. Let's go home. Home. The apartment she'd shared with Marcus. The apartment that was hers now. The apartment that felt like a museum of a life that no longer existed. They walked in. Everything was exactly as Grace had left it yesterday. But yesterday felt like a lifetime ago. Grace's phone rang. Jennifer Chen. Grace, I need to ask you something. Off the record. Okay. The story I published, the one about the Harrisons, it's been picked up everywhere. National news. International news. People want more. They want your full story. Book deals. Documentary offers. A production company wants to option it for a limited series. There's real money here, Grace. Life-changing money. Grace sat down heavily. How much money? 6 figures for the book. Maybe 7 figures if we get a bidding war. The documentary rights could be another 6 figures. And the series option, that's potentially millions down the line. Grace's head spun. Millions if it gets made. If it's successful. But the advance alone would be enough to pay for lawyers. To fight the deportation. To set Amara up. To never have to clean another toilet as long as you live. What do I have to do? Tell your story. All of it. The good, the bad, the ugly. Let people see what it's really like to be an immigrant domestic worker in America. Let them see how the system breaks people. I'd have to relive everything. Every humiliation. Every moment I want to forget. Yes. And Eleanor and Marcus, they'd profit too. Their stories would be told. They'd get attention. Maybe. But you'd control the narrative. You'd be the one telling the truth. Grace looked at Amara. Her daughter was watching her. Waiting. What do you think, baby? I think you should do it. I think you should tell everyone what they did to you. And I think you should take their money and build something better. Grace turned back to the phone. Okay. I'll do it. But I have conditions. Name them. Part of the money goes to a fund for exploited domestic workers. Legal fees, visa applications, emergency housing. Whatever they need. That's actually a great angle. Makes you look even better. I don't care about looking good. I care about actually being good. About doing something that matters. Okay. What else? I want creative control. I don't want this turned into some feel-good story about triumph over adversity. I want it to be honest. Ugly. Real. That might scare off some buyers. Then they weren't the right buyers. Jennifer laughed. You're a tough negotiator for someone who was arrested last night. I'm done being pushed around. From anyone. They talked details. Jennifer would set up meetings. Grace would start writing her story. Everything would move fast. After she hung up, Grace sat there. Trying to process. Trying to understand how her life had gone from complete collapse to potential millions in 24 hours. It's not real yet, Amara said. Don't count on it until the money's in the bank. I know. But it's hope. That's something. Grace's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. You destroyed my life. I hope you're happy. Eleanor. Grace stared at the text. Felt anger rising. Started to type a response. Stopped. Deleted it. Instead she typed, I didn't destroy your life. You destroyed it yourself. I just stopped pretending I didn't see it. She blocked the number before Eleanor could respond. Another text came through. Marcus this time. A long paragraph about regret and apologies and wanting to be in his child's life. Grace deleted it without reading past the first line. Blocked that number too. Then she turned off her phone completely. Sat in silence with her daughter. What happens now? Amara asked. Now we wait. For the trial. For the visa decision. For whatever comes next. And if the visa doesn't come through, if they deport you anyway. Grace took her daughter's hand. Then you finish school. You become a lawyer. You fight for people like me. People who have no voice. No power. No chance. Mom, don't talk like that. I'm not being negative. I'm being realistic. I might not win this fight, baby. The system isn't designed for people like me to win. But you can win. You can be the change I couldn't be. You are the change. Look at what you've done. You exposed them. You started a movement. You're fighting back. I'm one person. One story. That's not a movement. It's a start. They sat together as the sun went down. Grace thought about everything. About Lagos 20 years ago. About arriving in America with dreams. About Marcus. About the Harrisons. About every choice that led her here. Her phone buzzed even though it was off. No, not her phone. The doorbell. Amara went to check. Came back pale. Mom, the police are here. They have someone with them. Grace stood up, heart racing, walked to the door. 2 officers stood there, and between them a woman Grace had never seen before. Young, maybe 25, black, scared. Mrs. Okonkwo, one officer said. This is Fatima Diallo. She says she knows you. Grace looked at the woman. I'm sorry, I don't think we've met. Fatima's voice shook. You don't know me, but I know you. I worked for Eleanor Harrison's friend, Mrs. Thompson. She saw your story on the news. She got scared. She fired me tonight. Told me to leave immediately. No severance. No reference. Nothing. She said if I tried to cause trouble like you did, she'd call immigration. Grace felt her chest tighten. I'm sorry that happened to you. I have nowhere to go. No money. My visa expired 6 months ago. Mrs. Thompson knew that. She used it against me just like Mrs. Harrison used it against you. Fatima started crying. I saw you on TV. Saw you say you were going to fight. I thought maybe you could help me. I know I have no right to ask, but I'm desperate. Grace looked at the officers. Why did you bring her here? She was at the precinct, filing a report about wage theft. Someone told her you were there earlier. She asked for you. We figured you might want to know that your story is having an impact. Other women are coming forward. Grace looked at this woman. This stranger. This person whose life was falling apart just like Grace's had. And she made a choice. Come inside. Fatima's eyes went wide. Really, come inside. We'll figure this out together. Fatima practically collapsed into the apartment. Amara got her water. Grace sat down next to her. Tell me everything. From the beginning. Fatima's story was achingly familiar. Came from Senegal 3 years ago. Work visa sponsored by Mrs. Thompson. Promised fair wages and legal employment. Instead got paid half of minimum wage. Worked 70-hour weeks. Threatened with deportation whenever she complained. And when her visa expired, Mrs. Thompson promised to renew it but never did. Kept her working illegally. Kept her trapped. She said she'd renew it after the holidays. Then after summer. Then after her daughter's wedding. Always another reason to wait. And I believed her because I had no choice. Grace felt sick. Her story. Repeated. How many women were living this right now? How many were too scared to speak up? Patricia, Grace said to Amara. Call Patricia. Tell her we have another case. Amara made the call. Patricia agreed to take Fatima's case pro bono. Said there were 12 other women who'd reached out in the last 24 hours. All with similar stories. All inspired by Grace to finally speak up. You started something, Patricia said through the phone. Whether you wanted to or not. Grace hung up and looked at Fatima. You can stay here tonight. Tomorrow we'll get you a lawyer. We'll figure out your visa situation. We'll make sure Mrs. Thompson faces consequences. Why are you helping me? You don't even know me. Because someone should have helped me. Someone should have told me I didn't have to accept being treated like garbage. Someone should have fought for me. I'm fighting for you instead. Fatima grabbed Grace's hand. Thank you. Thank you so much. That night Grace lay in bed unable to sleep. Fatima was on the couch. Amara was in her old room. And Grace was staring at the ceiling trying to understand what her life had become. She'd lost her husband. Lost her job. Lost her security. Been arrested. Faced deportation. But somehow in the midst of all that loss she'd found something. Purpose. The next 6 months were a blur. Grace testified against Richard Harrison. Sat in a courtroom and told her story. Watched Richard's lawyers try to destroy her credibility. Watched Eleanor testify against her own husband. Watched Marcus sit in the gallery unable to meet anyone's eyes. The jury convicted Richard on 15 counts of fraud and embezzlement. Sentenced him to 12 years in federal prison. His company collapsed. His fortune seized. His reputation destroyed. Eleanor got immunity for her testimony. Walked away with nothing but her pregnancy and her shame. She and Marcus moved to New Jersey. Grace heard through the grapevine that they'd had the baby. A girl. That Marcus was working construction. That Eleanor was waitressing. That karma had found them after all. Grace's U visa application was approved 3 weeks before the trial ended. She could stay. Legally. For the first time in years she could breathe without fear. The book deal came through. The documentary started filming. Grace's story spread. The domestic workers fund grew. Dozens of women reached out for help. Patricia's office couldn't keep up with the cases. Grace became a voice, a face, a symbol. She didn't want to be any of those things. But she accepted it, because someone had to speak up. Someone had to say the quiet parts out loud. A year after that Thanksgiving, Grace stood on a stage at Columbia University. Amara's graduation. Her daughter was about to receive her degree. About to start law school. About to become everything Grace had hoped for. When Amara walked across the stage, Grace stood up and cheered louder than anyone else. Her daughter. Her miracle. The only thing she'd done right in this entire mess. After the ceremony they took photos. Amara in her cap and gown. Grace beside her. Both of them smiling. Really smiling. I'm proud of you, baby. I'm proud of you too, Mom. I didn't do anything special. You survived. That's everything. They walked through campus. Past students celebrating. Past families taking photos. Past all the hope and possibility that American universities promised. Do you regret it? Amara asked. Coming to America knowing everything that happened, Grace thought about it. Really thought about it. I regret the pain. The betrayal. The years I lost. But I don't regret the fight. I don't regret finally finding my voice. And I don't regret you. Never you. What happens now? Now I keep fighting. Keep helping women like Fatima. Keep making sure my story matters for more than just me. And personally, what do you want for yourself? Grace looked at her daughter. I want peace. I want to sleep through the night without nightmares. I want to look in the mirror and recognize the woman staring back at me. I want to be more than what they made me. You already are, Mom. Grace smiled. Maybe. I'm still figuring it out. They kept walking. Past the gates. Past the campus. Into the city beyond. The city that had broken her. The city that had forged her into something new. Something harder. Something that survived. Grace's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Is this Grace Okonkwo? I saw your documentary. I'm a domestic worker in Chicago. My employer is threatening to call immigration. Can you help me? Grace stopped walking. Showed Amara the text. What are you going to do? Grace looked at the message. Thought about saying no. Thought about how tired she was. How broken. How done with fighting. Then she thought about 20 years ago. Standing in the Harrison kitchen. Accepting Eleanor's offer. Believing someone would help her. Believing the system would protect her. No one had helped her. The system had failed her. She'd had to save herself. But this woman didn't have to be alone. This woman had Grace. Grace typed back, yes. I can help. Tell me everything. She looked up at Amara. I guess I'm still fighting. Good. The world needs fighters like you. They walked home together. Mother and daughter. Survivor and future lawyer. Two women who'd learned that staying silent protects the abusers and speaking up protects everyone else. Grace's story wasn't a happy ending. It was a real ending. Messy. Complicated. Painful. But it was hers. Finally, completely irrevocably hers. And that was enough. That had to be enough. Because in the end, the only freedom that mattered was the freedom to tell your own truth no matter the cost. And Grace had paid that cost. She'd paid it in full. Now she was collecting what she was owed: her voice, her dignity, her life.